Original text: the malicious officer keeps trying to sink my ship. I wrote a 100,000-word fanfiction about him out of spite, but it unexpectedly went viral. Later, he locked me in the interrogation room. A writing crop slowly swept across my body. You like forced love this much? Let me satisfy you. Great author Reed, teach me. Am I doing this right? My name is Jeremy Reed. I am the vice adjutant to the supreme commander of humanity, Lance Sterling. I am also the #1 shipper of Commander Lance Sterling and head adjutant Ethan Moore. The two are about to get married, but there is an old fox still trying to sink the ship. Right now, he's holding a massive bouquet of white roses, striking a carefully curated pose at the door. I looked at him expressionless. Save it. Adjutant Moore and the commander have already gone out to enjoy some couple time. Is that so? Francis Fletcher narrowed those fox-like eyes and shoved the flowers into my arms. What a pity. I guess I'll just have to find someone random to dispose of them. Wipe that homewrecker smirk off your face. I was so angry I wanted to throw the flowers on the ground. The fox Fletcher curled his lips, his smile harboring ill intentions. You dare throw away a superior officer's property. Do you want to get written up? I looked at him, gritting my teeth in impotent fury. This bastard. He only knows how to threaten me. I haven't just hated Francis Fletcher for a day or two. 6 years ago, I was a fresh recruit, a total greenhorn. It coincided with the fall of Sanctuary 112. Sanctuary 113, which was closest, sent troops to support. The leader of that squad was Francis. I had heard of him, the noble son of the Fletcher military family. If he wanted to, he could easily sit in a high-ranking office, yet he insisted on coming here to rough it. During a break, a companion whispered, "Don't you think Officer Fletcher looks like he's here on vacation? Gold-rimmed glasses, a white suit. Who on earth goes to a battlefield dressed like that?" I deeply agreed. "Looks like he's here for a blind date. Maybe he's got his eye on someone in our squad. With that physique of his." Suddenly, my companion pinched me, signaling me to look behind. I turned around and met Francis's smiling fox eyes. I went stiff all over. Sir, Francis smiled brightly. Jeremy Reed. Why, yes, this man was always smiling, but the smile never reached his eyes. I involuntarily shivered. He asked, "Am I that scary?" "Reporting to sir, you are very approachable." This was the biggest lie I had ever told in my life. Many people said Francis was gentle, but I felt his smile created distance, always making people feel he had an ulterior motive. Very energetic, Francis patted my shoulder, not pursuing the matter of me gossiping about a superior. I let out a sigh of relief. Seemed he was a magnanimous person. Our squad's mission was to clear out the low-level zombies and variants on the west side. The battle was much more tragic than imagined. We barely held the line. Suddenly, a child's cry came from a half-collapsed residential building. I reported the news of a possible survivor and requested further instructions. Over the public channel came Francis's emotionless voice. "Continue to hold your position. The rescue team will handle it." But where was any rescue team? The main force was in a bloody battle in the core zone. That crying sound was like a dull knife, slicing my nerves one by one. "Go, we'll cover you." A comrade waved at me. I nodded and rushed into the hail of bullets. I saved the child, but it caused the two comrades covering the position to get injured. After clearing the battlefield, I was called to Francis's tent. Originally, those two comrades wanted to come with me to take the punishment. I refused them. He sat there, still spotless, fingertips lightly tapping the table. "Disobeying military orders, leaving your post without permission. Jeremy, you have guts." His voice was gentle, clearly lacking aggression, yet it sent a chill down my spine. "Sir, I am willing to accept punishment. You saved someone and didn't cause any losses. If I punished you heavily according to military regulations, it would be too heartless." My heart relaxed. It seemed he really was. Before this thought could land, he suddenly leaned in, lowered his voice, his warm breath brushing over my ear. "How about this? After we return, 100 laps around the training field. While running, shout, 'Officer Francis is brilliant and martial, and I, Jeremy, am a dummy who doesn't listen to orders.'" I suddenly looked up, meeting those playful fox eyes behind the lenses. This was absolutely revenge. I take back what I said earlier. Magnanimous my ass, this punishment made me lose all face. From then on, Jeremy became linked with dummy and brilliant Officer Fletcher. So I worked hard, swearing to trample that bastard Francis under my feet. Later, I was selected for general headquarters based on my military merits. As a result, not long after, This guy also transferred to General Headquarters, parachuting in as the chief of the investigation division. Damn it, his rank still suppresses mine. Every time we meet, he finds ways to tease me. Seeing me jump with anger puts him in a good mood. I hated him more and more, hated his smile, hated his effortless attitude, hated the look in his eyes that treated me like entertainment. And I hated his malicious heart that always wanted to sink my ship. I imagined the bouquet of white roses in my hand was Francis's neck and strangled it hard. Francis chuckled softly. Like it that much? Then hold it and follow me to the wedding venue to have a look. You want me to carry such a huge bouquet and parade through the market? Are you kidding me, disobeying a superior's order again? I wouldn't dare. Holding back a belly full of rage, I followed behind him. People looked at us like we were circus monkeys. Colleagues winked at me. I knew what they were thinking. Nothing more than the Fletcher Reed ship. Wait, both that bastard Francis and I have shippers. This is truly cursed. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I wished I could smash the flowers onto Francis's head. Commander Lance's wedding venue was set in a pre-era church. We walked through the long corridor into the empty auditorium. The setting sun cast colorful halos through the stained glass windows. Fine dust floated in the air. Walking to the altar, he stopped and suddenly turned back to ask me, "Adjutant Reed, what do you think of this place?" I said grumpily. "What do you mean, what do I think?" "It's fine." He turned around, facing me, with his back to the colorful window. His whole being seemed bathed in holy light. A faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth. "I mean, as a wedding venue, do you think this place is suitable for lovers to finally get together?" I froze for a moment, my brain instantly flashing images of Commander Lance and Adjutant Moore standing here side by side. I blurted out subconsciously, "Of course it's suitable, it's so holy, so beautiful. It was practically custom made for my OTP." He looked at me, gave a soft and said nothing more. When I got home and checked my communicator, the group chat had 99 notifications. "Everyone, brothers and sisters, I saw Chief Fletcher and Adjutant Reed at the church today." Chief Fletcher even made Adjutant Reed hold a huge bouquet attached image. Francis is back, Jeremy holding flowers following angrily. Behind .jpg, holy crap, this gives such feisty little wife after marriage vibes. Did the Fletcher Reed ship give out sugar today? Yes, they did. Adjutant Reed's face is so red. Was he being flirted with by Chief Fletcher? Definitely that look in Chief Fletcher's eyes, definitely teasing his own wife. I'm dead. From sweetness I watched my blood pressure rise. Cult, you are all a cult. However, no one paid attention to me, the actual person involved. They chatted more and more excitedly. Fun fact, when Chief Fletcher was at Sanctuary 113 back in the day, he was known as the untouchable flower. Countless men and women threw themselves at him and couldn't even touch the hem of his clothes. But he just loves teasing our Adjutant Reed and has been doing it for 6 years. What is this called? This is called favoritism. These people had no idea what malicious intentions were hidden under Francis's pretty skin. How was he flirting with me? He was clearly playing me favoritism. I spit on that. That's called workplace bullying. Anger rose from my heart. Using my alt account, I furiously wrote a 100,000-word fanfiction. Francis was tortured physically and mentally, loved but could not obtain, and reduced to a slave. And I, Jeremy, became his master. In reality, I couldn't do anything to that bastard Francis. In the novel, I had plenty of strength and methods. My inspiration flowed like a burst dam. I wrote as if possessed by a god. The plot was melodramatic, angsty for the sake of angst. Logic was not worth mentioning in the face of artistic processing. After finishing, I posted it directly. The next day, I was woken up by the continuous vibration of my communicator. Groggily grabbing it to look, it was my alt account used for hanging out in shipper groups. Holy crap, sisters, go check Voice of the Sanctuary. A god tier fic has appeared. Is Chief Fletcher human today? Which goddess descended to Earth to write this? They captured that hypocritical, sinister, desperate vibe of the fox perfectly. I'm dying of laughter. He stroked the cold contours of the statue's face. I can see the picture. He really is a creepy emo stalker. Update quickly. I can't sleep. I was stunned for a moment and hurriedly clicked the forum link. My post had exploded. Comments and shares were 999. Even fan artists had quickly produced a chibi comic of Francis holding a statue of Ethan, crying bitterly. Holy shit, this level of popularity completely exceeded my expectations. If people found out I wrote this, how would that fox take revenge on me? I shivered guiltily. I wanted to delete it, but I couldn't bear to. Forget it, this is my alt account, how could it be discovered? I comforted myself. Just as I walked out of the dormitory building, I was stopped by people from the investigation division. The two looked at me, their expressions barely holding back laughter. Adjutant Jeremy Reed, our chief invites you to the investigation division for a cup of tea. Ha 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 ha, you. Don't be afraid, ha 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 ha. Holy crap, sorry, that fanfic is actually pretty good. Writing the chief so miserably was so satisfying, haha. The two of them chimed in, laughing so hard they were trembling. And I stood there, struck by lightning. Damn it, feared the worst, and the worst happened. My cover was blown just like that. I entered the interrogation room of the investigation division with a drooping face. The two men held back their laughter as they handcuffed me. Hey, am I some vicious criminal? Why handcuff me? Adjutant Reed, sorry, we dare not disobey the chief's orders. Don't worry, our chief just wants to discuss literary creation with you. After speaking, the two ran away quickly. Following that, the smiling fox Francis entered. Adjutant Reed, are you in a bad mood? Why that expression? I said grumpily. How about I handcuff you and see if your mood improves? What exactly do you want to do, playing dumb? He leaned over slightly, his line of sight level with mine. How does it feel to write me as a creepy emo stalker who loves in vain? Adjutant, Jeremy, Reed. I stiffened my neck and argued. What makes you sure I wrote it? I could say your investigation division is framing me. Francis narrowed his fox eyes. On Voice of the Sanctuary, you have one main account and 3 alt accounts. The main account is normal. Alt number 1 records interactions between Lance and Ethan. Alt number 2 curses me daily for being inhumane. Alt number 3 writes fanfiction about me. Besides that, on the Sea Spray Literature Archive, you have 2 alt accounts. One updates Lance/Ethan fanfic, and the second proves to all authors who write me as a positive character just what a bastard I am, and argues with people who like me. He paused, looking at my darkening face, and smiled. Do I need to continue? Holy shit, I felt the blood rush to the top of my head instantly, then drain away completely. How did he know so clearly? Even my alt accounts on the archive. You monitored me. What gives you the right to use spy tactics on me? Francis chuckled softly. I was merely reading great author Reed's masterpieces daily. How can that be considered monitoring? At some point, his fingertips had hooked a writing crop. The cold tip brushed vaguely across my collarbone. The whip slowly swept across my body. Great author Reed, am I doing this right? Where it passed, it aroused a burst of fine shivers. I panicked a little. Francis, you, don't go too far, too far. Compared to that maniac in your writing, I think I'm being quite restrained. He took off his glasses and leaned in close to me. He was so close I could smell the faint, cool scent on him and clearly see the reflection of my own panic in his pupils. Why? That was artistic creation, it's fictional. I didn't leak military secrets, you can't torture me. He gently pinched my chin and said softly, but in the investigation division, what I say goes. At this moment, I was a little scared. If he didn't want to let me go, he had 800 reasons to end my life. The party involved was just extremely regretful. Why didn't I hide my alt accounts better? I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please be the bigger person and forgive me. As if he heard a joke, he laughed low in his throat. I have never been a magnanimous person, especially towards a certain little bastard who writes me so, miserably behind my back, this petty, vengeful man. I cursed in my heart and asked, then what do you want? He looked at me quietly for a long while. That look was like he wanted to eat me. It gave me the creeps. Why are you shaking? Scared of me? Weren't you very tough in the novel? Didn't you want to be my master? How about this? You call me master once and I'll let you go. On this face that fascinated countless people hung a harmless and incredibly gentle smile, but his actions had nothing to do with gentleness. He always bullied me. Teased me just like teasing his pet. I was incredibly furious. Go to hell, bastard. Fortunately, Ethan came to demand my release. To maintain his image in front of him, Francis had to let me go. Before leaving, he said, Adjutant Reed, let's continue our discussion when you have time. My feet paused, and I almost tripped on flat ground. This bastard was definitely threatening me to keep today's events a secret from Ethan. He only acts like a human in front of Ethan. Ethan was confused. Discuss what? Francis lied without blinking. Literature. Ethan wanted to ask more, but I quickly pushed him away. Returning to headquarters, I finally let out a long sigh of relief. Ethan pointed to my collar. Adjutant Reed, your button is loose. What did you and Francis do just now? Why are your eyes red too? Discussing some tragic literature. My face stiffened. No, Lance looked up at me. Bullied again? Ethan grasped the key point. Again, bullied, I corrected with a dark face. That is workplace bullying, Commander. Why don't you do something about it, Lance? It's not bullying. Me, Commander, you've changed. You used to curse the fox with me. Lance looked at me for a long time, finally spitting out a sentence. Jeremy, you really are dense. Damn it, Commander. I'm going to be an Ethan Moore solo stand from now on. Lance expressionless. Stop thinking about nonsense all day. Go work. Oh, I turned to leave. Behind me came the voices of their conversation. Lance sounded like he hated iron for not becoming steel. How exactly is that bastard Francis trying to court someone? Ethan suddenly realized, so that's it. After that day, the fox didn't hang around me anymore. He was probably plotting something bad. If I can't provoke him, can't I hide? It just so happened that a VIP needed escorting to Sanctuary 113. I applied to lead the team. Lance saw through it at a glance. Trying to avoid someone. I was stubborn. No, I have rich combat experience. My individual combat capability is one of the best in the army. I am the most suitable. He didn't ask further and told me to pay attention to safety. When I saw the VIP, the smile instantly froze on my face. Francis was wearing a crisp white suit. Over it, he wore a black trench coat, symbolizing the highest authority of the investigation division. The gold chain of his glasses hung by his shoulder, swaying gently with his steps. He smiled beamingly. Adjutant Reed, are you surprised to see me? I was numb. The commander, that bastard, he never told me the VIP was Francis. Why is it you? I blurted out. He leaned forward slightly and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, it seems when Adjutant Reed applied for field duty, you didn't even ask who you were escorting. Do you not want to see me that much? The close distance instantly reminded me of that day in the interrogation room. Heart rate accelerated, face heated up. It was a feeling of extreme humiliation. I ground my teeth, really wanting to bite right into his neck. The journey was smooth. It only took 3 days to reach Sanctuary 113. The Fletcher family held a high status in the military and political circles. But the HQ Investigation Division made people tremble with fear. Therefore, Francis's situation was awkward. The local commander avoided him like the plague, wishing he could send him away instantly. I escorted Francis to his room door, turned around, and wanted to slip away. Adjutant Reed, he called me. I resigned myself and turned back. Is there anything else? He leaned against the doorframe, his gaze sweeping over the narrow and somewhat mottled corridor, finally landing on my face. This environment reminds me of 6 years ago. It was also here that I first met a certain rookie who didn't listen to orders. I secretly rolled my eyes. He's bringing up old scores again. Chief Fletcher has a good memory. Derogatory, yes. He looked at me meaningfully. Some people, some things you can't forget even if you want to. His gaze was too focused, making me inexplicably flustered. If there's nothing else, I'll go check the defenses. After speaking, I walked away quickly, not noticing that Francis stared in the direction I left for a long, long time. At night, while I was checking patrol records in the dormitory, the communicator suddenly rang. It was Francis's private channel. Adjutant Reed, come to my room. His voice sounded a bit weak. Are you injured, MN? I quickly grabbed the medical kit and went to his room. Only a dim wall lamp was on in the room. Francis was collapsed on the floor. He had taken off his trench coat and suit, wearing only a white shirt. The left shoulder and back of the shirt were already soaked in a dark stain. What happened? He turned his head sideways. Assassination. I bent down to examine his wound, about 10 centimeters deep enough to see bone. I can't handle this kind of wound. We need to notify the medical team immediately. No, he shook his head gently. The matter hasn't been investigated clearly yet. We shouldn't alert anyone. Jeremy here, the only person I can trust. Is you? Seeing his pale face from excessive blood loss, I hesitated no longer. Then bear with it. MN, go ahead. I didn't bring enough anesthetic. To prevent him from moving while I stitched the wound, I could only use his belt to bind his hands. At this moment, he who was always so composed looked like a butterfly specimen, exquisite, fragile, at anyone's mercy. As long as I moved my finger, he would. My mouth suddenly felt a bit dry. I shook my head, drove the messy thoughts out of my brain, and focused on stitching his wound. Only the sound of our breathing remained in the room. The moment the needle pierced in, fine beads of sweat appeared on Francis's cold, white skin. During the stitching process, that slender neck tilted up slightly, allowing me to see his Adam's apple rolling up and down even more clearly. "Jeremy," he called me with a raspy voice. "Save your strength." I didn't look up. "Shut up. In your fanfiction there seemed to be a similar plot, but the roles seem reversed." Just as I finished the last stitch, I looked up at him. "Are you crazy? Why bring that up now?" Francis laughed twice, but it pulled at his wound, causing his chest to heave violently with pain. He tilted his head, wanting to change to a more comfortable position. His satin-like black hair scattered around his neck. Sweat ran down his jawline, to his slender neck, to his exquisite collarbone. I swallowed. "Damn it, Jeremy." His low, hoarse, and somewhat weak voice was countless times sexier than usual. He spoke seductively. "Want to bite me?" "Nonsense," I retorted loudly. The belt binding his hands had loosened at some point. He raised his uninjured hand, pressed down on my head, gently pressing the back of my neck. His warm breath brushed past my ear. "This is the only chance you have for revenge. Don't you feel it's a pity to miss it?" The neck close at hand was exposed before my eyes without any cover. I smelled the cool scent on him. It was like a temptation. It was like an invitation. Years of accumulated grievances flashed quickly through my mind. And right now, the person I hated had no power to resist. The next moment, I opened my mouth and bit down. Let him bully me. Let him be self-righteous. My teeth sank into the delicate skin on the side of his neck until I tasted a faint rust flavor, and then I suddenly snapped awake. His body trembled gently beneath me. The corners of his eyes were red, and 2 physiological tears slid down. "Jeremy," he softly called my name. He was clearly incredibly fragile, yet he seemed to possess a kind of magic. I wanted to bully him. I wanted to see him cry and beg for mercy. I stood up abruptly and fled in panic. Crazy. "I'm truly fucking crazy," I tossed and turned all night. My mind was full of that scourge, Francis. Sure enough, the nickname wasn't wrong. This guy is essentially a vixen. The next evening, we encountered a surprise attack by unidentified armed personnel. Communications were severely jammed, and retreat routes were cut off one by one. The attackers were well-trained and coordinated, clearly not ordinary militants, and the commander of Sanctuary 113 made absolutely no move. Obviously, this group was related to him. Francis's trip was to investigate him after receiving an anonymous tip. It seemed this person couldn't sit still anymore. We were forced toward the east gate. That area had long fallen, infested with zombies and variants. He wanted to force us into a death trap, then disguise it as an accident where we were devoured by zombies. But we had no choice. We fought and retreated all the way, losing more than half our personnel and weapons. Rushing out of the core area, we barely found a safe place to rest. This journey was extremely difficult. I couldn't even count the large and small wounds on my body. Francis was also in a terrible state. His wounds had torn open again. While helping him treat his wounds, I mocked. "Damn fox, no energy to smile now, huh?" Francis let out a breath and looked up at the starry sky. "Do you remember 5 years ago when we were on a mission in the snow mountains?" "Don't remember. Don't remember." His eyes seemed a bit lonely. Actually, I was lying. I remembered very clearly. That year, relations between Sanctuary 113 and Sanctuary 115 were extremely tense. The commander at the time decided to deploy troops. And the team I was in, led by Francis, detoured through the snow mountains. Unfortunately, the team encountered an ambush and was scattered. Francis was lucky. I dug him out of a snowdrift. I also found a cave nearby. At the time, he was injured and running a high fever. Afraid he wouldn't make it, I put all the clothes on him, wearing only a single layer myself, shivering by the fire. I didn't know why I did that. I clearly hated him so much. Maybe just because he was my commanding officer. Or maybe because in a desperate situation, humans cannot survive alone. In the latter half of the night, he finally woke up and called my name in a low voice. "Jeremy." "What, dummy?" "Hey, what do you mean?" He unzipped his outer coat and hugged me from behind, letting the coat wrap around both of us. Because of the fever, his breath was hot, burning my skin and nerves. "What are you doing, Let?" The arms around me tightened slightly. He rested his chin on my shoulder. "Don't move, afraid you'll freeze to death." That day, perhaps feeling there was no hope of survival, we leaned against each other and talked a lot. Francis talked about his past. He had wandered the streets for a while. After being taken home, he suffered rolled eyes because he didn't know anything. He studied hard, doing everything to be the best. He wanted to prove he could shoulder the family's glory and future. But in the dead of night, he missed that time of wandering very much. At that time, although poor and hungry every day, he was happy. I was an orphan from birth, born in the lowest slums. I didn't understand what could be happy about those days. So I said, "You're a real weirdo." Francis chuckled low a few times. "It wasn't the life that was happy. It was because there was someone by my side, that's why I was happy." "Who? Someone you liked?" Francis shook his head. "My pillar." Later I learned that this person was Ethan. I asked, "Is there a difference?" "Yes." "I don't understand," he smiled. "Hope you can understand one day." I turned my head and happened to crash into his eyes. His eyes were curved, as if full of stars, such a bright smile without any scheming. It was the first time I saw it on his face. In that moment my heart felt like it was slammed by something. Thump, thump, beating fast and loud. A numbing sensation instantly spread through my limbs. This feeling wasn't unfamiliar. When I was with him, it would always happen. But I didn't know how to define this feeling. I subconsciously asked, "What is that look?" "Probably the look of finding someone very cute." "Cute me?" I widened my eyes. "Is your brain fried from the fever?" Francis was stunned, stopped laughing and sighed. "Jeremy, you are a dummy." Me, damn, I understood. The heartbeat just now was because I hated him, right? And it was extreme hatred. The memory came to an abrupt halt. I rolled my eyes at Francis. Was that some beautiful memory? "Weirdo?" Francis looked at me and smiled. Suddenly, a startled cry came from the companion keeping watch not far away. "Sir, more variants are coming." I instantly switched to combat mode. When variants appeared one by one from the dark, only then did I realize we were surrounded. After multiple battles, we were already exhausted, and our weapons were reduced to cold steel. Breaking out was extremely strained. Now Francis was heavily injured. To survive, we must. No, I shook my head and cursed inwardly. There must be a way. Francis said, "Dragging a burden like me, you won't get far. Give me up, Jeremy." I pretended not to hear. Rather than abandoning a partner, I'd sacrifice myself. "I am just such a dummy. Listen to me." "Listen to you?" I glared at him with red-rimmed eyes. "Why should I listen to you? Francis, you self-righteous big idiot. What makes you think that if you sacrifice yourself, I can survive? And what makes you think I don't have the ability to bring everyone back alive? In these 6 years, I've experienced countless dangers. Which time did I not escape death? I won't back down, and I certainly won't give up." In the end, I led the remaining team members and successfully broke out from the west side. We didn't dare stop for a moment and crossed directly over the highland ahead. Communications were finally restored, and I contacted Lance. He told me that from the moment communications were cut, he had sent people to meet us. Calculating the time, they would arrive soon. Sure enough, as soon as the voice fell, I heard the roar of engines. "Francis, did you hear that?" "We're saved." Answering me was the sound of his increasingly short breaths. Only then did I realize his wound was deeper. "How are you doing? Still alive? You hate me so much. Shouldn't you be happy if I die?" I suddenly felt very aggrieved. This bastard saying such bullshit at a time like this. I refused to leave him behind and fought desperately to break out had he forgotten all that. "Yes, I hate you the most. Francis, I hate you to death." He looked at me. In those fox eyes that always held mockery, there was no calculation or distance now, only a tenderness that almost drowned a person. He raised his uninjured hand and gently wiped the blood from my face. "Is that so? But I like you, Jeremy." My brain went blank. Time and space seemed to press pause. What did he say? Like me? Just as this thought rose, my vision went black and I fell to the ground. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. Ethan was guarding me. "Where is Francis?" I asked immediately. "Next door in ICU, out of danger." "Then Sanctuary 113. Lance will handle it, don't worry." Only then did I truly relax. "Oh, right." Ethan seemed to suddenly remember something, his tone carrying a hint of subtle amusement. "The first thing Francis did after waking up was ask where you were. Hearing you were fine, he went back to sleep. Now, you two have a life and death bond. Do you still hate him?" My cheeks felt inexplicably hot. Thinking of that earth-shattering, "I like you" on the battlefield, my brain instantly became chaotic. I buried my face in the quilt and muttered with a muffled voice, "Hate him. He is just a bastard." After being able to get out of bed, I went to check on Francis. He had been transferred to a regular ward and was leaning against the headboard reading a book. Seeing me come in, he panicked for a second and hid the book under the blanket. "Jeremy, you're okay?" Amen. Then a long silence as we looked at each other. Thinking of his confession, I couldn't help asking him, "What did you mean when you said you liked me?" He curved his eyes. "Literal meaning. Nonsense, you." The one you like is clearly Adjutant Moore. You always wanted to sink my ship before. Francis was stunned. Then, as if hearing something extremely funny, he actually chuckled out loud. Although he laughed with restraint due to his wound, the joyous emotion was written plainly on his face. He laughed for a while before stopping, those smiling fox eyes looking at me brightly. Jeremy, do you care about that a lot? Bullshit, I care about you sinking my ship. So that's it. He dragged out the tone, the smile in his eyes deepening. Jeremy, no nonsense, it's true. I like you. My heart skipped a beat and I froze in place. He looked at me, his gaze seeming to travel through 6 years of time. Since 6 years ago in that fallen sanctuary 112, starting from seeing that little dummy recklessly rushing out to save people, I liked you. My mind was blank. But you, his voice carried a trace of grievance. You always hated me. Who told you to always bully me? Bully you? Francis was stunned. He tilted his head slightly, as if truly confused. In your view, that was bullying. He repeated it, then as if figuring something out, looked a bit between laughter and tears. So that's it. No wonder. No wonder you were always so angry. He murmured in a low voice. The book was wrong too. Book. Francis was a bit embarrassed, but showed me the book he was just reading. I took the book. The cover made my vision go dark. The 36 Stratagems of Pursuit mean, he actually seriously made note. Stratagem 1. Make a feint to the east while attacking the west, attract attention. Core essence. Create small frictions to make the other person remember you firmly. Practical guide. The key lies in making him have a conditioned reflex to your appearance. Francis's note, his conditioned reflex bristling as soon as he sees me. Is this right? Stratagem 5. Cater to his likes, send gifts precisely. Core essence. Understand the other party's preferences, send gifts that fit their heart, show your care. Practical guide. Observe secretly, inquire from many sides. Gifts don't need to be expensive but must be sincere. Francis's note. His face turned black on the spot, asked what I was plotting. This stratagem is inappropriate. Stratagem 16. Know yourself and the enemy, attack the heart first. Core essence. Through various means, understand the other party's daily life, slowly infiltrate it. Practical guide. Refer to Stratagem 5. Don't forget social media. Anonymous alt accounts represent the other party's true heart better. Francis's note. He is very different on his alt account. Indeed, I understand him better now. Stratagem 23. Create solitude, close the distance. Core essence. Find or create opportunities for the two to be alone. Increase understanding in a quiet environment. Engage in more physical contact. Practical guide. Asking for a meal, asking for advice, completing a task together are all good excuses. Francis's note. Got a meal together. Feasible. Francis's note 2. Interrogation room X. Thinking back on what Francis did to me all these years. I simply felt it was absurd. Don't tell me that bouquet of white roses was originally intended for me. MN. You took me to that high-end restaurant with scary prices not to mock my lack of worldly experience but to celebrate my birthday. MN. That antique carving knife you gave me wasn't a threat to carve words on my face, but you wanted to give it to me as a promotion gift. MN. You. Last time on leave you insisted on taking me to your home to meet your parents. It wasn't to mock me for being an orphan. Stop, Francis finally interrupted me. Why does everything I do and say look like ill intentions in your eyes? Holding that copy of the 36 Stratagems of Pursuit, I fell completely silent. In the past 6 years, the bullying, teasing, mockery, threats, all that malice I perceived was just him trying to pursue me according to an unreliable broken book. Francis, you are a complete and utter big dummy. I laughed out of anger, tore the book in half and threw it at him. Who told you to read this messy stuff? If you chase people like this, wait to be single for 8 lifetimes. After speaking, I stormed off angrily. Francis and I were discharged from the hospital one after another. For many days in a row, I ignored him and his great displays of attentiveness. Soon, the group chat exploded. Brothers and sisters, something's wrong. The flavor of the Fletcher Reed sugar has changed recently. Attached image. In the cafeteria, Chief Fletcher puts food in Adjutant Reed's bowl. Adjutant Reed picks it all out. JPG attached image. In the corridor, Chief Fletcher helps Adjutant Reed carry files. Adjutant Reed walks quickly ahead. JPG This atmosphere. Why does it feel like Adjutant Reed is in a one-sided Cold War? Yeah, Chief Fletcher is still smiling, but Adjutant Reed doesn't seem to pay him much attention. Could it be? B. My ship cannot sink. Frontline sugar shipper. Did Jeremy bristle today? 2 big shots. What's the situation on the front line? I looked at the messages flooding the screen, annoyed, and turned off my communicator. B. It never started. Okay, Lance asked me to send a document to the investigation division. I refused but was threatened by his gaze. Yielding to the commander's tyranny, I had to go. Just arriving at the door, I heard intense discussion coming from inside. Chief, your way of pursuing is wrong. Exactly. With Adjutant Reed's personality, you have to be direct. I stopped and hid outside the door to eavesdrop. Francis's voice carried confusion. Direct? Yes, Cabedon. Forced kiss. Let him feel your burning love me. These people in the investigation division, what messy stuff are they thinking about all day? Francis pondered for a moment. Wouldn't that scare him? Chief, you don't understand. Adjutant Reed loves this. The more dominant you are, the more obedient he is. Right, look at that fanfic he wrote. Writing you as so. Cough, it shows he desires this kind of forced love deep down. So that's it. Francis's voice carried a sudden realization. I understand. What do you understand? Veins popped on my forehead as I listened. I pushed the door open directly. Everyone went silent instantly. I sneered, Francis, if you believe this rotten advice again, you are finished. The office was instantly silent as a graveyard. Everyone scattered like birds and beasts. I threw the file down and left. Francis chased after me. Jeremy, Francis chased out. Don't be angry, I know I was wrong. I sneered. How could the great Chief Fletcher be wrong? Aren't you best at strategizing according to book guidance? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have listened to those messy suggestions, and I shouldn't have used those self-righteous, stupid methods to provoke you for 6 years. I was lectured by Ethan and Lance. They were right. I got the most important thing wrong. I didn't speak, quietly waiting for what followed. Only by giving sincerity can you receive sincerity. These 6 years, I probably never let you feel my sincerity. That's why you hated me. He leaned over slightly, speaking cautiously. Jeremy, give me a chance. Let me express my sincerity in the correct way. His eyelashes trembled. His appearance of bowing low and acting small reminded me of that familiar feeling again. Wanted to bully him, wanted to see him submit, wanted to make him cry and beg for mercy. Some kind of vile thought began to stir in the bottom of my heart. I grabbed the collar of his trench coat backhand and pulled down hard, forcing him to bend over, leveling his gaze with mine. This posture put him in absolute passivity while I looked down from above. In this instant, the positions were completely reversed. I became the absolute controller. I leaned close to him and whispered, "Then did Adjutant Moore tell you that when pursuing someone, especially someone like me, you have to be humble into the dust?" He stared at my lips, swallowed, and it took a while to find his voice. I know, the feeling of training a dog was really satisfying. Watching the formerly high and mighty Chief Fletcher now hold his breath because of a look from me, and his ears turning red because of a sentence from me, this sense of control was somewhat addictive. I enjoyed this one-sided domestication, almost drunk on the humble illusion he carefully constructed. But playing with fire eventually leads to burning oneself. One night, maybe the atmosphere was too good. Maybe I was dazzled by the desire for control. I brought him back to the dormitory. Under the warm light, his eyes looked at me wetly, just like a large dog waiting for commands. I pressed him to the edge of the bed and tied his wrists with a tie. "Tonight, listen to me." He nodded obediently, his Adam's apple rolling gently. However, when I leaned over and tried to dominate everything, I awkwardly discovered that with zero practical experience, I didn't know exactly what to do next. My fingers froze on his collar, in a dilemma. I don't know how. Francis laughed low, a sound carrying the vibration of his chest, magnetic and seductive. Jeremy, his voice was hoarse, coaxing, "Let me," again with this effortless attitude. I was a bit humiliated and angry, and patted his face neither lightly nor heavily. "Call me what?" His eyelashes trembled lightly. He lifted his eyes. That look was wet, as if covered by a layer of mist, yet burning with dark fire in the depths. His beautiful thin lips obediently spat out 2 hooking words. "Master." Then, using that posture of absolute submission, he coaxed in a low voice, "Leave it to me. I won't let you be disappointed." Dazzled by the beauty before me, I inexplicably untied the tie binding his wrists. The next instant, the world spun. I was flipped over by a skillful force, falling into the soft bed. Above me, his oppressive figure instantly loomed. "What are you doing?" I tried to struggle, but my wrists were easily pinned by one of his hands and held over my head. Francis looked down at me. The gold chain of his glasses hung down, gently brushing my cheek. The corner of his mouth hooked up, carrying a somewhat wicked arc, where was even half of that docile pitifulness from just now. Master, save your strength. I'll let you scream enough later. He took off his glasses and leaned down. Francis, you motherf. MMPH, all protests and curses were completely silenced by him, tossed and turned all night. The consequence was lying in bed for 3 days. That bastard Francis, usually acting docile and humble, looking like he let me manipulate him, completely exposed his true nature as soon as he got into bed. He was basically a hungry wolf in sheep's clothing. And the kind that had starved for 6 years and finally got to eat meat. The most annoying thing was, once out of bed, this guy was incredibly thoughtful and attentive. It made me feel like even getting angry was being unreasonable. On the 4th day, I stormed back to headquarters. The group chat immediately became lively. Report Adjutant Reed is back. His walking posture is slightly unnatural. Understood, Chief Fletcher can't perform not upstairs, your account is gone. Adjutant Reed knows best if the chief can perform doghead, so now it's made up, no, completely conquered. Did Fletcher Reed become official? Although not explicitly stated, we all understand. Let us congratulate this old couple. I blocked the group messages with a dark face. Lance and Ethan practically dragged me to the commander's office, one on each side. Lance, what's going on with you two? Me, Commander, you are too gossipy. Lance slapped the back of my head. You're allowed to gossip about me and Ethan, but we aren't allowed to gossip about you. Double standards. Ethan, quick, tell us what happened. The excitement of these two actually made me see myself when I was shipping them. I had to simply explain the situation between us. After listening, Ethan threw himself into Lance's arms, unable to stop laughing. Lance, no wonder that guy caught a book writer recently. He wouldn't say why when asked. Me, Lance patted my shoulder. You two remember to lock it down, save that guy from. Before he finished speaking, Ethan threw a sharp look, and Lance shut up instantly. It really is Adjutant Moore who trains dogs well. I looked at him admiringly. Please teach me. Ethan, the dog training master, patted my head. Good boy, everyone is good at different things. Don't force it. In the evening, Francis openly entered my room again. Chief Fletcher, aren't you making yourself a little too at home? He walked over, naturally wanting to hug me. When I swatted his paw away, he didn't get angry, but smiled instead. I came to serve my master. Your service is making me unable to get out of bed, but you liked it too. Bastard who liked it. Then teach me, how should I do it to make you like it? Give up, impossible in this lifetime. He sighed, restrained his joking expression, and looked at me seriously. Jeremy, I know my previous methods were stupid and made you angry. I also know that deep down I might not be that docile, but the fact that I like you is true. From 6 years ago, it never changed. So tell me, how can I make you like me a little more? He lowered his head, pressing his forehead against mine. Those fox eyes close at hand reflected my image. A little panic. A little shyness. I took a deep breath, looked up abruptly, and under his startled gaze, bit his lower lip hard. What I wanted to say was I don't like you, won't like you in this lifetime. But it seemed, in my panic, I spoke wrong. So Francis's eyes became brighter and brighter, his smile more and more brilliant. Then he kissed my lips. I was also a bit distracted. I hugged him without refusing, breaths intertwined, fingers tightly interlocked. Finally, I couldn't help speaking. No biting, it's the commander's wedding tomorrow. How can I see people if there are marks? You big bastard, the wedding was held as scheduled. The church was full of pure white flowers, and sunlight spilled through the stained glass, casting dreamlike spots of light. Lance and Ethan stood side by side in front of the altar, eyes only for each other. Standing in the guest seating, watching this scene, my eyes felt hot with emotion. The CP I shipped finally reached a happy ending. The ceremony ended, guests laughed and chatted, throwing flower petals. Just as I was immersed in the happiness of my CP is the best match in the world, a hand suddenly reached out in front of me, knuckles distinct, clean and slender. I followed that hand and looked up, meeting Francis's smiling eyes. He dressed very formally today, missing some of his usual casualness and adding a bit of solemnity. Jeremy, he looked at me, his voice exceptionally clear amidst the lingering music of the church. Do I still make you hate me now? The surroundings seemed to quiet for an instant. All noise became background. Looking at those eyes that no longer hid any emotions, filled only with my reflection, my heart beat like a drum. I said without hesitation, hate you, I hate you the most in the world. The smile in Francis's eyes deepened. But I like you the most. His breath was close at hand, carrying his unique cool scent, wrapping me firmly. I could feel many gazes quietly gathering around, including the smiling gazes of Lance and Ethan. Oh, then go ahead and keep liking me. Why tell me? Then let's talk about something else. His smile didn't diminish. Instead, he took a step closer, almost pressing against my ear, lowering his voice. Master, are you willing to give your dog a title? Me. This bastard on this occasion, using this title blood, rushed to my head with a boom. I seemed to say something, but the eyes of the person in front of me were too gentle, making me involuntarily drown in them, completely failing to notice what I blurted out. The next moment, a warm palm firmly covered my hand, then interlaced tightly with my fingers. Only then did I snap back, threatening viciously, "Hold again and I'll chop your hand off." "All right," he smiled like a rascal. "Then you'll just have to take care of a handless husband." The cheering and good-natured laughter around us grew louder. My toes curled in my shoes, wishing I could flee on the spot. Almost the second after Francis took Jeremy's hand, the internal HQ group chat and major shipper hubs completely exploded. Group chat: did Fletcher Reed get married today? Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap, holding hands, directly holding hands at the commander's wedding. Attached image. Sunlight through colored windows, Francis smiling, gazing at Jeremy, 10 fingers interlocked. JPG, what is this scene of the century? I declare this the official announcement scene. Hold again and I'll chop your hand off. All right, then you'll just have to take care of a handless husband. Holy crap. Chief Fletcher's flirting is God-tier. Adjutant Reed's ears are totally red. He's clearly very happy I'm dying. This hits me harder than just saying, "We are together." Everyone type, "Lock Fletcher Reed." In the public chat, lock, lock, lock. I swallowed the key. Report related threads on Voice of the Sanctuary forum broke 1,000 replies in 10 minutes, trending 1 Fletcher Reed official. Chief Fletcher smooth talk. Adjutant Reed soon, dear. Screenshot. Forum hot thread. Fletcher Reed held hands at the commander's wedding. We are shipping the real deal. Op. As the title says, live on scene. Chief Fletcher reached out first. Although Adjutant Reed said he hated it, his grip was so tight. Multi-angle HD photos. JPG 1L. I'm gone. That eye contact is sticky. Those interlocked fingers 2L. So the reason Adjutant Reed walked funny before was indeed because those who know 3L. Chief Fletcher. Endured for 6 years, succeeded in 1 morning. Adjutant Reed. Mouth says no, body is honest. 4L. Is Chief Fletcher human today? Author, your fanfic came true, although roles seem reversed. 5L. Wait, go check the Investigation Division's official account. A new link was thrown into the group. It was the verified official account of the Investigation Division, which usually only posted cold announcements and mission briefings. At this moment, it reposted that explosive forum thread with a caption of just 3 simple words: Investigation Division V, MN, mine. Attached was a photo from a hidden angle. In a corner of the wedding, Jeremy was looking down at their joined hands, the corner of his mouth seemingly having a smile he tried hard to suppress but still leaked out. And Francis's line of sight fell entirely on Jeremy, focused and gentle. The official account joined in, personally stamping approval. The comment section was instantly overrun. Official sugar distribution. Investigation Division. Blink if you're being held hostage. Does this count as misuse of public resources? Doghead, but please, by all means, use more. I order you immediately right now. Go get married. This CP carnival, sparked by a wedding, ignited by holding hands, and fueled by the official account, lasted all night. The heat even exceeded the commander's wedding itself for a time. And the two at the center of the storm. Jeremy scrolled through the exploding messages on his communicator expressionlessly, but the red flush on his ears never faded. Francis walked over with a glass of warm water, naturally wrapped his arm around his waist, rubbed his chin against the top of his head, and chuckled low. Seems like everyone is more anxious than us. Jeremy huffed, throwing the communicator aside. Out of sight, out of mind. So annoying. Francis smiled and kissed the tips of his hair. Get married early and it won't be annoying. Keep dreaming. I set the date. Completed.